It's mailbag time, and we're going to answer some questions about the state of Boston College athletics. We're going to look at BC's defense. I'm going to talk a little bit about what's the next steps in terms of their development, and we'll get into the women's basketball game in the NIT. All of this and more on today's Locked On Boston College.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black. Happy Friday, everyone. I hope you had a great week. I know I did. Today's episode is brought to you by StatHero. StatHero is reshaping the way you play fantasy sports. Dozens of house-based games to play daily. No sharks, no funky props, just your skill versus the lineup you choose. Sign up today at stathero.com/lockedon. Now, today is going to be our Mailbag Friday, and we have more of a condensed version because I had a lot I wanted to get into. So we're going to have a few questions from our mailbag. Most of them came from Facebook, and I'll get into what you have all asked me. Now, if you want to ask questions to us on Facebook, just look up Boston College SI. So if you go to, if you put in BC Bulletin or facebook.com/Boston College SI, hit that like button. That's your next assignment from me. Go to facebook.com/Boston College SI and make sure you like our page. So there's question comes up from DJ Fullerton, who wanted to know, do you see BC lowering their academic standards to allow student athletes to start being a winning program? Now, that's like the $1 million question, right? With BC sports is like, admissions is always a challenge of getting players in. I've heard all sorts of stories of players that haven't been able to get in because they haven't been able to get past admissions. And the short end of the question, short end of that answer is no. They will not be able to lower admission standards. That being said, I think the admission standards excuse is a little suspect. I don't think it's as bad as you think it might be. I mean, basically, if the kid can come into school and breathe and do his work, I think you can get into most of these schools. And I don't think BC is honestly that far off. You know, they might want a kid that doesn't have like a 1.0 in high school, or who can barely, who is struggling academically so badly that they would never be able to be successful. But they put a ton of stuff in. And I think they have kind of lowered their academic standards, right? I mean, how long has it been since they've had a JUCO? I mean, Paul Peterson, is that the last one we've had before they brought in Jaden Zachary, and he's doing great. I think you don't hear about it as much, but my thought is with the admission stuff, BC is what it's going to be. And, there's other schools that have tough admission standards, and, schools like Notre Dame, Stanford, Duke. You're going to hear about that, and they're successful. They're all successful. So BC just needs to find their niche. They got kids that want to come here, and you'll find kids that don't, qualify to come here, but you can look at some of those SEC schools. They have the same issues. It's not just BC. Some of those schools get kids that can't get into those schools either. It may be a little bit lower in terms of the standards, but I think BC, it's tough, but I think they let a lot of kids in. So great question. Thank you, DJ. All right, Glenford Sutherland, who is a regular listener to our podcast. I know he comments a lot, and I'm glad he reached out with a question. Who will be the breakout players on offense and defense next year? Now, this is a lame answer I'm going to give you because I'm going to pick an offensive lineman for the breakout player, and that's Christian Mahogany. Like, he is like right on the edge of being a superstar, and I think he's going to catapult his way into becoming a superstar. Now, I've talked about this for the podcast for the last month or so, but I love Coach Googs, the new offensive lineman coach. And it seems like, based off of Hafley's comments and the offensive lineman comments, that they're enjoying his attention to detail, his attention to fundamentals. I don't know. I thought Christian Mahogany was great under Matt Applebaum, but I think he's going to be even better with another year under him and with this new coaching staff. So my offensive breakout player is going to be an offensive lineman, Mahogany. And I think he's going to be the next Zion Johnson in terms of like elite BC offensive lineman. And he'll tell you that too, because I remember earlier this year, he told me he's going to be the best lineman in the country this year. So he's got big shoes to fill, but I'm going to pick him. And on the defensive side of the ball, breakout, I'm going to go with Jaden Woodbay. And again, just like Christian Mahogany, like good year last year, but I'm going on top of that to say breakout year, like superstar year, because this kid can do everything. And we saw glimpses of it all over the place last year for BC, but with a better defense that continues to evolve around him, he could be that superstar on that defense. And right behind him, I'd put Donovan Azaraku too, the defensive end. He got some really valuable playing time. I imagine he's going to be the second defensive end, across from Marcus Valdez this year. So 1A would be 1B, Donovan Azaraku. So thank you, Glenford, for those questions. John Reardon wants to know, what improvements would you like to see being made in Alumni Stadium? All right, first of all, I'll go through. I'm going to give you a bunch of answers, and these answers are the ones that all the fans are going to go, Remember, I don't have season tickets anymore because I'm in the media. I go when I go to games now. I go and sit in the press box. This year, I'll probably go to a game with my son because I know he really wants to go to a game, so I'll go as a fan. But for the most part, I sit in the press box now. Now, that being said, I remember exactly the stuff I liked and didn't like when I was sitting in the seats like you guys did. First of all, upper deck, get some bathrooms up there. My God. I know, I think he's on Twitter as MattBCO3. This is like his life goal is to get that going. And I amen, Matt. If you're listening to this podcast, amen. Because I sat up there, and now with the additions of beers, so you go up there, you grab 2 beers, right? You get your Bud Lights or whatever. You sit up there and you watch the game, and of course you have to go to the bathroom. It's like a 10-minute journey just to get to the bathroom, and then it's like a 5-minute wait. So you're talking like 20 to 25 minutes of missed game if you have to go to the bathroom, which is ridiculous. Now, they got all that concourse in the upper deck. Figure a way to get a bathroom in there. And, it could be a smaller bathroom, like 4 stalls, 4 urinals, whatever it is. Just figure it out. The next thing I'd love to see at BC, seat backs. I saw them start to do it with donors-based seats last year. I mean, can't they just get a sponsorship and just have them all with like a logo on it from Sullivan Tires or Men's of Watertown or whatever that was that Al Skinner used to advertise? I mean, I hate sitting in bleacher seats, especially when it's wet or it's cold. And I brought my own seat backs and stuff like that, but just make them seat backs and keep the upper deck, the bleachers, but just make the whole lower bowl. And if it means increasing the cost for a year for like $5 to make it happen, just do it. That's a big one. My third one, and this is going back to this goes to my heart. If you look at BC, there's that open concourse where they have my favorite sausage stand. That's like the best sausage in Alumni Stadium. But make that a beer garden. Get Night Shift, get Trillium, Treehouse, I don't care, any of the local breweries that are awesome, and let them set shop up there and put the sausage stand there and have it as a beer garden. Open, if you want to get fans in there early, open that up, have them go in. That gives you an experience that you can have fans in. You can have them, on campus. That's a great thing. So a beer garden would be awesome. So those are my thoughts. Things like the boards, they've already done all that. So those are my big ones. I'd also like the sound system to get a little better. I know it's been, last year it was hard to hear because I was in the box, but when I used to be there, it sounded awful. And so I would think getting a new sound system would be a big thing too. So thank you, John, for that question. Our final question is hockey, and I love hockey. Daniel Kelleher asks, do you have any information on the next Ben's hockey coach when Coach York retires? I don't. I have my guesses who's going to be the next head coach when he retires. I got 3 names, and these are the 3 names I'm kind of onto right now. First one is Greg Brown, who I always thought was going to be his replacement until he left the team to become, I think he went to the Rangers as an assistant head coach. And now he's with, and I'm going to probably screw their name up, the Dubec Fighting Saints. And I think they're part of the USHL. Excuse me, yeah, USFL. They're not football. And so he's one that I thought of. He's lower on my list now. So he's one. Second on my list, I think, would be Mike Kavanaugh, excuse me. Mike Kavanaugh of the Yukon, who's brought the Huskies, a program I never thought had much of a chance of doing anything, to the Hockey East Finals. He's obviously a former Boston College assistant. He worked under York for years. He's done a nice job with Yukon, a program that just joined Hockey East a couple years ago, and have really kind of built that up. He'd be my second. He'd be number 2, Greg Brown number 3. My number 1 choice, I would love to see BC go out and steal Greg Carvel from UMass. And if there's any Minutemen fans out there, I apologize. And there may not even be a chance. But if you want a guy that has already shown at a program like UMass, and no offense to the Minutemen, but they're not at the same level at BC in terms of hockey prestige, hockey history. They've done a nice job of making themselves really good. They won a national championship. But I think BC could outbid them and they could get him if they wanted to. So he would be my number 1 choice. Will they go for him or will they go for an assistant? I don't know. I still get the sense that York isn't going anywhere for a while. So this is kind of my talk, but he doesn't seem like he's retiring soon. And as I said on an episode, I think last week, I expect that if he does leave, we'll hear about it for about a year. So I think he'll be back next year. I don't know how many more years he has left, but I don't expect him to go. Thank you for all your questions today. We had quite a few, and I wanted to make sure I got to them all. If you have questions, make sure to hit me up at LockedOnBC on Twitter or on Facebook or Instagram. I always put posts up, and I try to get them up early, but I didn't do a good job this week. But thank you for all who submitted questions. Now, in a moment, I'm going to talk about BC's defense. We just talked about Jaden Woodbay, but I'm going to talk about where their next step needs to be in terms of taking that next step. Now, this is the time of the year that I've pretty much given up on all my New Year's resolutions. Not this year. I'm sticking to my resolution to eat right thanks to Built Bar. It almost feels like it's not really a resolution because I actually enjoy eating them. Puffs, have you tried them yet? Have you? I've been talking about them so much, but you really need to try them. They are yummy, they are full of protein, and they're 100% covered in chocolate. Check out the cinnamon churro, the coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie, or right now they have the brownie batter puff. Delicious. You need to check these out. All Built Bars are covered 100% real chocolate. They're low calorie, high protein, and you can replace your candy bars with these because they're better and they're good for you too. Head on over to Built.com and use promo code LOCK15 and you're going to get 15% off your order. Again, use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. This is Locked On Boston College. I'm going to give you some of that good football stuff that you love to talk about, and that's going ahead to 2022. I felt guilty on yesterday's episode. If you didn't listen to it, we talked. I kind of got into a discussion about the 2021 season. I gave 3 heartbreaking plays that kind of changed the shape of that season. And we're already into spring season, but it was something I wanted. I had my notebook full of topics that are kind of things I could talk about, and I had not got to that yet. And so now I want to move ahead. I want to look at 2022. Forget about 2021, right? We've talked extensively about the offense. With Phil Dracovic coming back, he is one of the key factors, obviously, into the success of BC heading into the 2022 season. But it's also important to talk about this defense because now we're heading into year 3 of Tem Lokabu and Jeff Hafley's vision in reforming BC's defense from what Steve Addazio has. And one of the things that Steve Addazio didn't have a lot of was speed. He had some speed at different spots, but Jeff Hafley wants speed everywhere. And the way he's done this with his defense is trying to get those faster linebackers and faster safeties that can move all around the field and get, just speed all over the place. You hear about it with some of the players. You look at their size and their stats, you could see that they're faster. Now this year, again, you're starting to cycle out those older players from Addazio, the Mike Palmers, Brandon Sebastians, TJ Rams. They're all going, Brandon Barlow. You're going to get more of a chance to continue to add Hafley's guys. So what's the next step for this defense? The statistics show that they've been going in the right direction. And I didn't pull the specific stats, but I can tell you just because I have all this stuff jammed in my head. Well, it's great stuff to have, right? Like knowing stats. But football for defense when Steve Addazio was here, they were in the hundreds, right? They jumped to 70th in 2020, and they were in the 30s to 40s last season. So what does BC need to get better at on defense? What do we need to look for to see this defense take that next step? Now, the biggest piece, I think the secondary is set. You lost Brandon Sebastian, who was good, but that group is deep, especially, they've got some really good players. I don't want to say they're deep. They're just talented. They got a lot of good talent. You got Josh DeBerry. You've got Elijah Jones, CJ Burton, and some kids that you haven't seen play yet, right? Like, Jalen Cheek, Jalen Williams. You got a bunch of different guys that could fill those roles. I think are going to be really impressive heading in. So secondary, I don't think it really needs to do much of anything. It's that front seven that needs to take it up a notch. Once that seven take it to that next level, I think BC is going to have a very strong defense. And if you pair that with that offense, that's when BC takes that next step. But will this be the year that they do that? I look at the linebacker position. You got Cam Arnold out there who is switched from safety, and he was, hit or miss last year. I think it's fair to say that he had some good moments. Sometimes he looked like a player that just switched positions, right? You put him next to a true freshman last year, Bryce Steele, who, is the quintessential Jeff Hafley linebacker. I mean, he's a safety hybrid. He's fast. He can go all over the field. And then you got your thumper and Vinny DePalmer. So you got some talent there. And I like the diversity of what they can do. Like, you got your speed and you got your power, and you need both of those. You need guys that can go down hill and hit. You need guys that can go side to side and tackle guys. They got a lot of that. But will they go to that next level in 2022? And that's a question I can't answer, right? I couldn't tell you. That you're going to have to wait to see the product on the field to see if they do that. We pretty much know what you got with DePalma, but the other two are kind of unproven commodities at this point. I think where Cam Arnold takes that next step, where Bryce Steele takes that next step, will be where that unit goes, right? Because DePalma will be your rock. Those other two, I think you just need to see them take that next step. And then the front four, This is the piece that I think is the biggest factor for BC to have success this year. Because you're having Marcus Valdez for like the 13th straight year as your defensive end. No, I'm kidding. He's been there, 4 or 5 years now. And again, proven commodity. You know what you're going to get with him. I don't think you're going to be able to get more than what he's done already unless you improve players around him to make him, a little bit more flexible and less of the emphasis on him. But that other defensive end position is going to be so critical heading into this year. Whether that's Sheeta Salah, whether that's Donovan Azaraku, who Jeff Hafley just said at practice yesterday, he could envision him having 10+ sacks this year. You get it. I mean, if I know that's coach speak, and I'm not going to get into it, but I mean, just imagine if you had Donovan Azaraku out there getting 10+ sacks, that whole defense is going to be great because you're going to have Marcus Valdez next to him having 6. You get a couple up front. All of a sudden you have a really good pass rush, right? That pass rush will be the difference between a average to decent defense and a good defense. And I think that pass rush is what BC has lacked. A consistent pass rush over the last 2 years. You bring that in with that secondary, and all of a sudden that defense is going to click it up a notch, and that is when you're going to want to see this defense really humming out there. So I think some improvement on the linebackers core, finding that second defensive end that can do something, and my money would be on Donovan Azaraku at this point. He kind of fits a lot of what I think Hafley's trying to do at the edge. You add that, it's going to make Marcus Valdez better. That will be where the defense has to go. And I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen. I'm not blowing sunshine up your butt here. I'm just saying that's what they need to do to get that defense going to that next level. Do you agree with me? I'd love to hear about it. So hit me up wherever you get your podcasts. You can find me on Twitter at AJBlack_BC. So find me there. Tell me if you agree with me or not. I'd love to hear your thoughts. In our last segment, we're going to talk about the women's basketball team whose season ended on Thursday night. Now, our next partner has a product I use literally every day. I started using Athletic Greens because I don't have time to waste and I wanted better gut health. Now, I've been on it for about 4 months now and I love it. It doesn't taste like it's super healthy. It has kind of a mild tropical taste. I actually look forward to it every morning. So what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 quality minerals, vitamins, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all the things that you need. So why do I take it? Because I'm getting up there. I'm getting older, guys. We're all getting older. And when I need to feel better, I need to eat right. And I think a good dose of Athletic Greens every morning is a must for me. It costs you less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. It has over 7,000 5-star reviews, and it's trusted by all sorts of leading experts such as Tim Ferriss and Michael Gervais. So right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition, especially heading into the flu and cold season. It's just one scoop and a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/college. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/college to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Now, it's March Madness, and the college basketball tournament is finally upon us. From all the latest odds, contests, and player props, BetOnline.net is the number one source for all your sports betting needs and info. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. Head on over to BetOnline, where the game starts. On Boston College, time to end this episode on a really bad note, and that is BC women's basketball season came to an end on Thursday night as they were stunned at the very end by Columbia, losing by 3 points. Now, BC jumped out to an early lead in this game. They showed right off the bat that they were the better team athletically. They were hitting shots. Then it all just kind of got into this malaise, and they just were kind of just there. They weren't able to really put their offense together. They let Columbia, who had a hot crowd, and the announcers were all over them, get into this. And by the end of the game, it was down to 1 point. Columbia inbounded it, and it was a beautiful pass, but it was also a really bad defensive lapse by BC. Left a girl wide open underneath, and she just laid it in. BC gets the ball back with like 15 seconds or 12 seconds left. Taylor Soule goes to the rack. Good defense by Columbia. She's not able to lay it in. They foul, and that's it. That's it. BC's season is over. It's disappointing because this was a game that they could have won. This was a very winnable game for BC, and they don't, and it ends now. So this is the end of the season for some of these players. Taylor Soule, her career's over. Cam Schwartz is gone. And we just found out today 2 other women on the team are transferring, and one of them was a big one, I thought. Michaela Dickens, who is BC's kind of their sharpshooter, is entering the transfer portal in her graduate year. Now, I don't know what her deal is. It could be kind of like what Hafley has, where there's so many, extra years given out that she may just need Joanna McNamee may just need the roster spot, or, Michaela Dickens just wants something else. I'm not sure. She wasn't there. She wasn't playing today. But she's entering, and then Jalen Batts, who is a true freshman, kind of a role player off the end of the bench. Didn't really see all that much. She entered the transfer portal as well. So that will be 2 new transfer spots for Joanna McNamee to hit in the transfer portal. And one that they got last year, Dontavia Wagner, really had a strong game today. She looked really good to start the game off. She had 9 points right off the bat, played some really good defense. But it's a bummer because this is the end of the road for them. Now, basketball's done, hockey's done. We're just basically for the rest of the season, we just have baseball and softball and women's lacrosse left. And so we'll talk a little bit about women's lacrosse. I'll make sure that we kind of cover that here on the show as we continue our 5 days a week as we head into the spring. So this weekend, we'll have some more coverage of the weekend at Boston College in terms of practice, in recruiting visits. If there's any big names, we'll make sure to have it up at bcbulletin.com. Make sure to check that out. Follow me on Twitter at AJBlack_BC and at LockedOnBC. Thank you all who have listened to every show this week. If you haven't, go back and binge it. It's a 25-minute episode. You can go back to Monday. Boom, 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 boom. And most of them are going to be pretty current because there haven't been a ton of games to go along. It's a lot of just talk about practice and things like that. So if you're listening to this, go back and find episode from Tuesday that you haven't listened to and give that a listen as well. I totally would appreciate it, and I love all of you guys. You guys are a great audience, and we can't do this without you. Thank you all. We'll be back again on Monday with Mondays with Mitch, as we're going to continue to dive into the Pro Day event. Pro Day is on today, and Mitch and I will have our thoughts on that. See you again soon.